26 Bartel figures extradited, transferred, not extradited. They don't like using that word. Transferred, they like expelled, excommunicated, all that shit. But they don't like the word extradited. They was transferred to the U.S. 26 Bartel figures extradited, transferred to the U.S., including El Quini, Chavo Felix, and Flaquito. This Tuesday, the Attorney General's Office and the Secretariat of Security and Citizen Protection and the U.S. Department of Justice reported that they transferred 26 people to the United States. Video has been published showing several of them being loaded onto a military plane under heavy guard. Through an informational card, they announced that the 26 people, without revealing their names, had extradition orders and were wanted for their ties to criminal organizations for drug trafficking, amongst other crimes, and represented a permanent risk to public safety. Tomorrow, Wednesday, August 13th, which was today, the Secretary Cabinet will hold a press conference at 11 a.m. to provide details on the extradited individuals. While no official announcement regarding the names of those extradited has taken place yet, several media sources are independently confirming names of those sent to the U.S. Journalist Oscar Ballman has mentioned confirmation of 3 names of the 26. Omar Garcia Harfouk says the transfer was done under the National Security Act, the same legal framework used in the 29 kingpins sent to the U.S. in February, bypassing the formal extradition process. All formal processes have been bypassed in this administration. All right? There has no longer been legislation. There has been pure executive order. All right? Everything is being done in a matter it wasn't done in the past. We cutting corners in this country around here. However, Harfouk mentioned there was an agreement that the U.S. would not seek the unaliving penalty in any of these cases. U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Ronald Johnson, noted in a news release that among those transferred today were key operatives of the Jalisco New Generation and Sinaloa Bartels. You get a deal, you get a deal, you get a deal, you get a deal. Everybody gets a deal on the airplane. Now, you think they get an extra carry-on? Like a personal item, or they got to pay extra for that? You think they get to check a bag in the, with their families? They get to bring their families on the plane? Notable transfers. Now, y'all tell me as I go if I miss anybody that's super guy. Super the next guy, the real guy in line. Notable transfers, not extraditions, y'all. Notable transfers. Juan Carlos Felix Gastelum, Chavo Felix, hitman and son-in-law of Elioma Zambada. Pablo Edwin Huerta, El Flaquito, leader of the CAS. Arellano Felix Bartel, formerly the Tijuana Cartel, Bartel. Abigail González Valencia, leader of Los Quinis, the financial arm of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and brother-in-law of El Mencho. All right. We saw that when he went down, didn't we? And we saw this one, Leobaldo Garcia Corrales, a longtime Sinaloa Bartel member whose brother was unalived at the beginning of the MF Chapitos War in Sinaloa, related to numerous political figures in Elota. If I'm not mistaken, Leobaldo is the brother-in-law of Tommy, notoriously known for his part in the whole story of the twins, Tommy. I believe Leobaldo is his brother-in-law. Hernan Domingo Ojeda, El Mero Mero, Ovidio Guzman's uncle, a member of Los Chapitos factions of the Sinaloa Bartel. Kevin Alonso Gil Acosta, El 200 of Los Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa Bartel. I don't know. This don't sound like dinosaurs. I don't know. Some of these guys sound like, they in the game right now. Martin Zazueta, and we seen when some of these guys was locked up. We covered their stories when some of these guys was locked up, you know. Martin Zazueta Perez, el PG of Los Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa Cartel. Luis Raul Castro Valenzuela, also known as Chacho, a member of the Sinaloa Cartel. Jesus Guzman Castro El Chuy, an operator for Los Mayos faction of the Sinaloa Cartel. David Fernando Vasquez Bejarrano, El Acelerado, a Los Rusos operator close to Yoma. Mauro Alberto Núñez Ojeda, El Hando, a pilot for Ivan Archibaldo Guzman. Now, I mean, if he's Ivan's pilot, he's a right now guy. He's nobody's dinosaur. Servando Gomez Martinez La Tuta, former leader of the Knights Templar. No shit, the Knights Templar, huh? Roberto Omar Lopez, Shrek. They don't even mention who he's with. They're like, whatever. Hit the like button, y'all. Francisco Chavez, likely from Cartel Noreste. Well, you can't just be, expelling and transferring people that are likely. You don't even know whose mob he's in. Like, what are we talking about here? Jose Baldomero Fernandez Beltran, El Mero. See, not El Mero. This one's just El Mero. He hasn't graduated to Mero status yet. An operator for Los Pelones. Juan Carlos Sanchez Gaitan, a member of Los Zetas. Daniel Perez Rojas, a Los Zetas member initially arrested in Guatemala. Abdul Karim Conte of Sierra Leone is accused of running a large human smuggling organization, bringing migrants from around the world to Mexico and the U.S. Roberto Salazar El Gordo is accused in the 2008 unaliving of a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy. He was an Avenues Ganguero member at the time of the unaliving. 2 other Ganguero members were involved, and they believed they were targeting a rival Ganguero. Anton Petrov Kukin is a former Bulgarian military doctor who was arrested in 2018 for running a FediWap lab in Mexico. There's your list of the people transferred, not extradited, transferred or expelled or whatever else from Mexico to the U.S. Shout out Omar Carranza. It is ironic that after they sent him to the USA, Chapo got his wish and now he can see his lawyer. Did that happen? Did they okay that? Because I said 2 things can happen. He made enough noise to get the government to reach out to him, or this has to do with that. Why was a La Tuta transferred? He's been locked the longest, I believe. Hey, so was Caro Quintero. They sent his ass over. They transfer motherfuckers, man. Maybe they're clearing space for the arrest they're about to make. They got room. Any arrest they're about to make is gonna make a quick turn. They're gonna be jumping the border, be over here for sure. They're gonna get expelled, bro. It's just what it is. La Tuta had Michoacán on lock when he was leading Los Caballeros Templarios. Lots of Sinaloa. Yeah, they got a lot of Sinaloans out there. A lot from both sides. Couple hats, couple chapitos. El Flaquito's sick right now. They just picked him up a couple months ago and then bang, you in America. And that's how it was with Leo Waldo as well. A couple of the names on this list were exactly what we're saying we was asking for, right? We were saying we don't want no more old motherfuckers. Send some new arrests. Well, they did it in the first 29. There was the 2 dudes that got popped off on the day that supposedly Ivan went through that tunnel and got loose, right? Those 2 dudes got locked up, and by the weekend they was here. So it seems they're doing it in that manera, in that way. Ivan's gonna get captured soon. We'll see. El Hando is said to be the driver of the plane that brought Yoma. How'd he get away? Or you think they locked him up that day and they just didn't mention who it was? Did we not hear about how El Hando got popped off? How did El Hando get popped off? How did he end up in custody? That'll answer the question if he was the pilot or not, no? Or did they secretly arrest him that day? Or did he jump out the plane as soon as he landed and ran the other way? Pilot, that's the pilot that brought Maya to America. But how do we know? Just because he's a pilot? I'm sure they got more than one pilot. The Mexican government's under pressure. These guys know everything. Do they? I think the guys that know everything are the guys that are already locked up. The two at the top. You never know what kind of world you wake up to. Power goes out, systems fail, or you end up somewhere you shouldn't have been. That's where survival fraud comes in. The OGs of emergency prep. From solar-powered gear to bug-out bags that'll keep you breathing while everyone else panics. They got the real tools for the real situations. I'm not talking fantasy gear, I'm talking survival gear. Hit the Survival Frog link in the description and get geared up. Be ready, stay sharp, stay dangerous. The info is out there on the pilot, so then you motherfuckers been holding out on me is what you're telling me. Let's see, the pilot that flew El Mayo into the U.S. February 11th, Mexico arrests pilots who may have flown. Okay, let's check this out. Oh, maybe we did cover this. I do remember covering this guy. I remember seeing his mugshot and putting it up. But they never confirmed it. Mexico arrests pilots who may have flown Sinaloa Bartels and Maya to the U.S. Right, that's my point. How did they not get him then? He was like, nah, why didn't they say it that day is my question. How didn't they get him that day? Where did he go that day? That's why I don't believe it's the same guy. But vamos a ver. I'm going to read. And this is from February. Omar Harfouk suggested that a man detained in Sinaloa on Saturday was the pilot of the private plane that transported alleged Sinaloa Bartel members of Mayo Zambada to the United States last July. How the fuck did he get off the tarmac is my question. Can somebody explain that to me? If that's true, that he was arrested in Mexico. Zambada and Guzman were arrested at Doña Ana County International Jetport in New Mexico after they disembarked the plane. They snatched them and forced them. Tuesday morning press conference. The Attorney General was still investigating the suspect arrested on Saturday, but he disclosed that the man identified as Marroen is a trusted pilot of the leader of the criminal cell that has to do with the illegal abduction of the person who was handed over to the U.S. How? That was my first thought then. Whether it was an American pilot or a Mexican pilot, that he had a deal, right? But that shit don't make sense. A suspect arrested on Saturday. So, in July 2024, he flies over the border with precious cargo, and then, poof, he disappears?
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world
How?
he didn't exist.
Then you arrest some jerk-off in Mexico that's another pilot, and then you tell me he's the one? Because he's a pilot? Whatever happened to the plane? Whatever happened to anything? Nobody wants to say shit, but everybody wants to say everything. We got 60 different, conspiracies and no evidence of shit. How, Sway? How? That's why I can't trust the news. I can't trust the government. I can't trust nothing. It doesn't make sense. He pulled a flash on them. He pulled a flash. Got the fuck out of there. Hit the like button if you have yet to do so, because nobody else is scrutinizing this information that's being thrown in their face all day and spoken to them in comments and chat rooms. They're not scrutinizing it. They're not thinking about it. Maybe I'm stupid. I'm just some dumb YouTuber. But it doesn't make sense to me that in July, a Mexican Bartel member flies in a jet with the top boss in the back seat, and then he disappears and makes it off the tarmac and makes it off the airport and makes it back to Mexico.
No, mommy's wait.
He was the real DB Cooper. I don't know, man. This shit sounds dumb to me. Wait, will Yoma know who the pilot is? Why wouldn't he expose that? He probably wouldn't know who the pilot is. Or he could. He probably wouldn't care. That's somebody's worker. He probably don't know. He just know he got smacked up and thrown into an airplane. But miss me with, oh, just because this guy's Ivan's pilot, he's the guy that piloted that aircraft. My thought was, if the pilot's going to disappear into thin air like Kaiser
The
Soze,
greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
he was United States government and part of that plan. It's the only way I thought he disappeared. But to tell me that a Cartel member flew the plane and then disappeared, fuck out of here. That plane didn't sit on that runway all day waiting for the feds to come get it. Feds knew that plane was coming. They were right there. There wasn't no chance of the pilot disappearing. He was let go or he was incarcerated. So this shit don't make sense to me. It sounds like more internet bullshit talk. And we get a lot of that. Is a trusted pilot of the leader of the criminal cell that has to do with illegal abduction of the person? Yeah. And here, listen to how they word it. He disclosed that the man identified as Mauro N is a trusted pilot of the leader of the criminal cell that has to do with the illegal abduction of the person who was handed over in the United States. None of that shit means he was the pilot. All it means is he was the pilot of the guy that runs the Chapitos, who are the guys that snatched up Yoma. We run with that shit and we say, got him. The fuck are we talking about, bro? Well, mama's way.
No mommy's way.
Shout out Bordo. A Tesla plane flew itself. Sounds like the plane flew itself. Sounds like the news and these publications send everybody off into thinking that they caught some fucking pilot that did it. No. But they'll tell you that. And now they'll tell you that now you think that he's one of the guys that got expelled. They say, man, it was all set up by the U.S. government. People really think otherwise. Wasn't all set up by the U.S. government. I believe it was a collaboration. I believe that the pilot was an American. That, poof, disappeared. This person is linked to attacks and confrontations with authorities with trafficking drugs in the United States. So we just broke down that line, and that's the line that did it. This is the line that caused the confusion and has everybody in my chat, my friends included, the usual suspects included, saying, that's the guy that was flying the plane. And it's this line right here. It's this line. It's a tricky fucking line. Is a trusted pilot of the leader of the criminal cell that has to do with the illegal abduction of the person who was handed over to the U.S. Omar Harfouk is a motherfucking jerk off. Pilot for Ivan Archivaldo. So, let's dead that shit, that he's the pilot. Because unless somebody wants to give me proof that he's the pilot. As far as I'm concerned, the pilot is a U.S. pilot because nobody spoke about that motherfucker ever since. Shh. Ain't heard of him, ain't seen him. And the closest thing you got to it is Harfouk saying that. And you know what, Primo? Why is Harfouk such a jerk off? Maybe it's true what Zoraida brought to the table a long time ago, that old girl Cyberbomb knows everything that's going on, and probably Harfouk does too, and they gotta have an answer for that pilot. And the answer is, well, this guy's a pilot, and he's a guy that's connected to the guy that got snatched. Meanwhile, everybody runs off with it. That's my point. But it's because they're wording it that way. The pilot was in on the... Yeah, if you ask me, the pilot was U.S. There's no way the pilot was somebody that was going to, jump off the plane and run across the border back to Mexico. It just wasn't going to happen. And if the pilot was a Mexican pilot from the Cartels, why didn't they arrest him right then and there? And why wasn't it announced to us that he was arrested right then and there? I'm just saying, though, like, this is what they do to us. I get frustrated. And as you could tell, I throw their bullshit out of my mind and keep with the facts. And to me, the fact still is nobody knows who that pilot was. And if I'm taking a guess, that pilot was an American citizen. Or if it was a Mexican, it was a Mexican with a deal. And I doubt that part. They never had an answer for it. The U.S. side hasn't had to answer for it. Mexico hasn't had to answer for it. If you watch the video, they were waiting for the plane and were quick to get them off. Definitely probably did. That's my point. It wasn't like they got there, parked the plane, called the feds, and then in that time, Buddy got loose. Nah. It was, we're on our way. Ahorita llegamos. Now the question is, how many of these guys gonna make deals? Are we putting up a poll? Huh? How many of the expelled prisoners snitch, all right? Will it be only 10 of them? Let's say 20 of them. And then we'll add all of them. Or we're going to add an absurdity. None of them. Hasta la pregunta insulta. He said the question's insulting. Sorry, they all getting deals. Hey, you get a deal. You get a deal. You get a deal. Everybody gets a fucking deal. Hit the like button. I need a softer pillow. I like my coffee with sugar. No milk. Come on, man. Everybody gets a fucking deal. Free deals like warm bread. And what does the U.S. government do when you give them something? They liberate you and clean you. They clean you of all your sin, your pecados. You care about information. You care about arrests. You care about headlines. You care about money for sales. You care about filling up private prisons. But stop acting like you care about the morality of it all. Stop playing like you care about the people that are being oppressed and hurt. You don't care. You care about the deal. You care about the the headline that you got extraditions and you did this and that, but you willing to wipe away their transgressions as long as they snitch for you. Shit, I bet some of them already been working with them for real. I don't doubt it. They trying to get ahead of the motherfucker in front of them in line with the hood over his head. This guy probably told him everything already. I had to get my shit in. Huh? But they need to stop pretending that they care about the morality involved in this. And this is just headlines, man. Trumpito want to be able to say, I extradited them. It was huge. We brought them all here. They told us what we needed to know about each other. At least for better living conditions and to avoid ADX. That's it. They want a little, some hot pictures and some hot food. I'm not saying none will take a deal. I'm just saying some of them might not. Maybe. Why won't they, though? Because they're stand-up and they're logical? No, they're going to ask for something. What is Tuta going to offer them that he hasn't already exposed? He got nothing to offer. Doesn't mean he ain't going to offer something. He'll make something up. You think he'd be the first? Wonder which one of these guys has access to the most money in the U.S. Would any of that do them any good right now? I'm asking because I'm curious. I'm not being a smartass. No commissary for them. No, they want their fucking chop, boy. On my fucking chop. You can say something to somebody. Oh, and here's the thing. It don't have to be all of that to get a extra piece of bread. So-and-so got a tunnel over there. So-and-so got 2 labs over there. So-and-so got a brothel over there. So-and-so got a finca over there. That's all it takes, bro. There's a scale. Everybody can't bring you a Mayo in the trunk.